welcome to Office Hours. Today is November 4th. The apocalypse did not happen yesterday, so we are meeting and talking about SEO. So we have a ton of questions to get through
TBD
today.
on the apocalypse.
What's that?
TBD on the apocalypse.
TBD, yeah, that's right. The apocalypse has not yet been determined. They've not counted the apocalypse yet. We don't know how the world will end yet, but in the meantime, we are going to talk about SEO because, hey, in the meantime, why not? So we had a bunch of questions, and so we're going to answer them in order of appearance. And that means, Allie, you get to start. So you had said that there's a page on your weekly dashboard that seems to be getting an unusual high amount of traffic, and you're not certain about it.
Right.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, so week after week, there's this one page that is on our landing pages that has an inordinately high amount of sessions, second only to our homepage. And this is not a new page for us. It's not a page about services. So it's something that we are very curious about if it's accurate, or because it's just a blog post. You know, is this accurate? Could it be inaccurate? If it definitely is accurate, how can we find out where it's sourcing from?
Right.
Because we don't know how it could be getting so much traffic since it's not even a new post. So like,
Sure.
how is it happening? And
Yeah.
is there some kind of error?
Well, yeah, I'm actually disappointed you think it's an error. What if it's going right? What if something's going right?
I mean, it could be going right, I guess, because like every week it's double digits. And like, we're a small company. Our landing page, like say last week, our landing page, our homepage got 37 sessions. This other page got 20, which is very high. Where like all other pages get like maybe 5 or 6 at most. Like, so it's like a lot, like more than, and they are US visitors too, because that's what I'm doing now, is narrowing it down to only in the US, because really that's the only thing that's applicable to us. And it's still extremely high. So unlike when we had an instance where we had 70 visitors all at once from Argentina, where I'm like, okay, that's not right. This is all US traffic. So it's very puzzling to me.
It's like this SEO stuff works or something.
Something like that.
Oh my goodness. So I'd say, well, in one sense, your intuition's right. Your homepage is always going to get the most amount of traffic to your site. But SEO done right means that people don't always land on your homepage first.
Right. The counter to that I will say, or the devil's advocate, is I'm not actively trying to optimize this page.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, did I do something good?
There's a number of things. So the first thing I'd want to know is, and I think you kind of asked this, how is traffic getting to that page?
Right.
And so in Google Analytics, you can go and visit that landing page from the acquisition report, where you go into acquisition.
Okay, acquisitions.
All right, and then go to channels, just for starter. And so it'll have default marketing channels.
Okay.
And that shows you, the different kinds or sources of traffic to your site. Okay. And so there on the top of the table, there's going to be something that says like other. It's a drop down. Just at the top of right under the graph.
Okay. Yeah, under the graph.
Okay, so if you do the drop down, you can type in landing page, or just type landing. It'll recommend landing page.
Landing page.
Select landing page.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
I'm there.
So now you see all the landing pages that got traffic, meaning this is the first page they landed on your website.
Right.
Okay. So typically the home page is the top traffic landing page.
It is.
The second second topic landing page the page in question?
Correct.
Okay. So click on that second one that you want to analyze the data for.
Like on the checkbox or?
No, on the actual page. You shouldn't have to do the checkbox. You should be able to click the page in the report.
No, maybe I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't let me click on it like as a link.
Okay, well, because what we're trying to do is, so, you might have, do you have a channel and landing pages displayed in your report right now?
Maybe.
Do you want to share your screen?
Oh, you have to
This might be a lot easier if we can all look at it.
Yeah, you have to enable it.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, that's it. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's for some reason. Okay, let me just think about this. So yeah, you're showing, so it's the second page.
Mhm.
I'm wondering why it's not allowing you to click on that as an option. So, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to secondary dimension, see that little drop-down box, and we're gonna type default channel. And you see default channel grouping is a secondary dimension. This is not the easiest way to get to this, but okay, so to make this report a little easier to use, is that third item the question, the one in question?
This one, number 3, yeah.
All right, so grab that little snippet of URL. You can just drag across the URL snippet and copy that and put it into the search box at the top of the table and hit the search button. Okay, so what we're looking at now is we're limiting all traffic to just that landing page, but it's telling us the default channel grouping, meaning the source of traffic. And so 18 of the 20 visits came from organic search.
Wow.
But see, like, that's what's puzzling to me.
Okay.
Because then if I go onto like Google Search Console, I don't see people like searching for this.
So, so people are searching for it, and that's how they're finding it. But what we don't know here is how they're searching for it.
Okay.
Or what. And so before we go into Search Console, let's just think about this for a second. The idea here is that a lot of people are searching for something on this, and you said it's a blog post, right? And as a result, they're finding this page. We don't know at this point what they're searching for, but we do know that they're coming from organic search. And as we scroll
over, the bounce rate, I mean, it's showing a bounce rate of 100%.
Right, that's okay. See, bounce rate for a blog post could mean a couple things. Could mean someone has found what they looked for and said, okay, great. And they left your site because that they've accomplished their purpose. Their question they had that brought them to your page was answered. And so it's a successful blog visit, even though it's 100% bounce.
But even look here, session duration, 0.
Right. So
as opposed to these two coming from referral, where they actually
that has to do with how session duration is calculated in Google Analytics.
Okay.
If there's not a second visit, Google Analytics can't count the time.
Oh, like if they click out of it,
right? If they
go into something else,
Google Analytics doesn't know they went back, so it isn't able to calculate a time.
Well, that doesn't feel helpful.
Right. The average session duration, these kind of time metrics are really not very useful in Google Analytics. Okay. They can be real red herrings. That's why I don't really typically focus on them. But
okay, so, that's good to know.
With blog posts, you're always going to have a high bounce rate because people are looking for a question. Google serves up your page because it thinks your blog post answers their question. And in fact, the fact that all 100% of the people who landed on this from organic search came and left doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means you might have answered their question. Oh, great. Now I know the answer, and they leave. Now, it's not good in the sense that you're not attracting customers,
Right.
but that isn't the only value of these, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing. The other thing is it could be attracting customers, but we might not be able to measure them. For instance, someone could click on this page, see the blog post, and then call your phone number.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have any idea unless we had phone call tracking set up
Right.
that was a successful customer, because Google Analytics doesn't know a phone number was called. It can't make that connection unless we have a phone call tracking system set up. So it could mean that there are customers coming from phone calls if there's a phone number on this page.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll also mean that whatever you wrote about, a lot of people want to know the answer to.
Right.
They might not be customers, but a lot of people want to know. So from this data, we can say whatever, it kind of doesn't really, for this purpose of this conversation, doesn't really matter what the topic is, except that you found a topic that maybe you're the only one writing on, or maybe you have the best answer for.
Now, for the secondary one, the referral, is there a way to find out where that referral source is coming from?
Exactly. So we can click over on the left column. There's a list all the way to the left, something called referrals. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we can scroll down and we can hit secondary dimension, and we can do landing page. And you might still have your URL saved in your clip. So if you go to advanced, actually that won't work. Go to advanced. Yeah, now paste that in there into landing page. Even suggest it. Apply. Okay. All right. So one of them is from Google Analytics. I wonder who could be clicking in Google Analytics to find out where this is coming from. You? Who would do the, so that's why we use a system like Ghostery to prevent ourselves from inflating our own numbers.
Yeah, I thought I already had my IP whatever thing, not IP, you know what I'm talking about, set so it doesn't register me.
So you could, but unless you have a static IP from your ISP, that IP address might have changed.
Oh.
And if you're working from home, you typically don't have a static IP address.
Mm.
If you were a Fortune 500 company, you probably do have a static IP address and you could exclude. But typically, like even me, I have a really nice internet at home, but my IP address changes all the time. Mm-hmm. So one of those people is you, right?
Right.
Another person.
And then the other person was Yahoo.
Well, it's people coming from someone coming from Yahoo, and just for whatever reason, Google Analytics didn't acknowledge that was a Yahoo search user.
Okay.
So in other words, most of your traffic is coming from search in one form or the other. Okay. Typically, Google knows when it's a Yahoo search versus a Bing search, which is a Google search. But so in other words, this is a very successful page for search traffic. So who knew?
Okay.
So it might be worth taking that URL and going into Google Search Console and saying, I don't know if we want to show that on the screen.
Okay.
But it might be worth going into Search Console and looking to see maybe there's some keywords that Google says it's serving the page up for. Maybe there's keywords for which it's showing impressions. It might be that you don't quite have enough traffic to register the clicks, but Search Console will kind of tell you, how people are finding that page. And then you can say, okay, great. So there's a lot of great advantages from this. Number one, if we're thinking about a branding perspective, people are being introduced to your brand through this page. That's great. They might not convert immediately.
Actually, if you don't mind. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. So I did save each week when I have our meeting, I go through. So this was our top Google Search Console searches. And now that I'm looking at it again, so the page that they were landing on had to do with generalization, and our search generalization, generalization, generalization. So all different kinds of generalization, but they all landed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just these searches talking about generalization landed in 6 clicks, which could have been, I'm assuming, that page.
And in Search Console, you can say, don't show me the query, show me the landing page and how much traffic that brought. And then from once you have it selected a specific landing page, you can then say, okay, now show me all the queries for that page.
How do you do that?
Well, you log into Search Console. Yeah, you from at the very top, there's a little, it can show data, and you can it's like a plus. You click on that and you can select query, page, all kinds of choices. Select page, put in the part of the URL you want to show, and it will show you the pages that have that URL.
Wait,
it's
I
under
see.
Performance under Search Console. Same place you're going for the queries in Search Console.
Okay, no. Then what did you say?
At the very top, there's some bubbles, and one of the bubbles is a plus. Click on the plus.
Yeah.
And then you can select page from there.
Oh, that's magical.
Mind blown.
That is mind blowing.
Isn't that great? So once you put the portion of the URL in there, now you should see
exactly what they search for to land on that page.
Yep.
That is amazing.
So now you know, so you've hit a topic that people are interested in. So
really interesting.
We don't want to duplicate we don't want to compete against this page, but maybe there's deeper direction in which you can go. Maybe there's more
or other aspects of it.
People want to know about this generalization concept.
Interesting.
And it might be that you're the only one talking about it, or you're the only authoritative one. So there's all kinds of advantages from this that aren't necessarily customers.
Yeah. One of the top search that resulted in clicks, our position is number 2 on the search for that, which is very high for us.
Right. But we got to think when we see these successes, not just in terms of customers. Yes, we definitely want customers, right? So maybe there's a direction you can go geographically.
This particular topic is more geared towards other professionals, not necessarily towards customers for us. So it would be more potential employees or professional contacts. So that is something that we could also, work to develop, because that's something we're trying to do. Because also, connecting with more professional contacts is also giving more credibility to our site, which then increases the overall ranking. So
for instance, let's say someone's doing a research project on this for a blog post on their website. They research generalization. They find your article because they just researched it. They want to quote you. They link to your website. That is a vote of credibility in Google's eyes.
Yeah.
So having yourself show up could generate its own links. Right. And that's the kind of link building that helps your success, but you don't even have to do it. You just did a good article. Now, there could be other things. Let's say that you want more professional development. So maybe on this page, you add some sort of professional development call to action. Right. Because sometimes, like on the end of a blog post, I'll tag some little paragraph. So if you need this service, we can help you, contact us. At the end, because it's a blog post, it should be altruistic and helpful, and we can do a subtle call to action at the end. Maybe I want to change the call to action at the end to be more professional. If you're offering classes and certifications, so maybe you want to point your call to action that way, because that's who you're attracting, and you've used the data to help you identify what's making this successful. And that could be a way to turn it into a successful lead generating page, not just, hey, we got a lot of traffic, congratulate. Bosses tend to not be impressed with traffic, as they shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Naughty dog.
Spray bottle.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, great find. Great data driven results. Now you have some great action items. And lo and behold, you did SEO and you didn't even try. right?
Yay.
That is why I love blogging as a strategy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just hit something and you just go and you're like, I didn't
And
even have
you
to
know,
do
and
anything.
we've talked about this too, how right now we're really trying to optimize and strategize how we blog. So this is great information because we can look at what people are searching for and maybe even cater to those searches more than what the current blog does, and then develop more or even open up kind of a specialty on that. And because, you know, we have different like series and stuff that we do. So we could potentially do a series on it, which would, you know, promote more traffic, and then link that to maybe a webinar or, you know, things that we actually sell and profit off of. So
Right. Yeah. What if this tells you what your next webinar should be about because enough people are
exactly.
interested in this topic? Like that would be great. So now are you excited about getting lots of traffic and not all down on the fact that
You know,
we're seeing success,
2020,
something
Matt.
must be
It's
wrong.
2020. I always assume the worst before the best.
Good work, good work. That's the best part of SEO. Sometimes you just stumble into success.
Yeah.
And
Gosh.
it's because you didn't try to optimize something, you just tried to produce something good. And that's kind of a baloney SEO answer. Sometimes SEOs say it all the time, just produce good quality content. Well, there you go. Right? Yes, just produce good quality content does really well. Not always. It's not a panacea, but sometimes you just do it right. Like, and forget about title tags and blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just do good stuff and good stuff will happen. Okay, great question. Now, can we skip to answer one of Trisha's questions?
Yeah, I don't remember what my second question
Okay,
was.
I have a record of it, but I want to skip and give Trisha a question here. Quick. Okay, Trisha, which question would you like to ask? You had a couple. Which is the most pressing?
So, I guess I'm trying to look through and see.
I'll look and see too, and see if I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Canonical?
Yeah. So like, yeah. So I know what Canonical is, but so for example, if like how to like check and confirm that what I think is being used is, I found that tool. And I wasn't sure, but then also when I look up in the Google Analytics, it's showing different than what I think Canonical is. And so and I didn't set the Google Analytics account up, it already was. So is it correct? Is it wrong?
Right. So I'm going to do a real brief summary. Canonical is the idea that Google uses your web address as an identifier for your pages on your site. So if there's any slight variation in the URL, but the content is the same, you have a problem of two URLs pointing to the same content. What a canonical tag does is tell Google, hey, I know there are two variations of the same URL, but I want you to consider this one the proper or the canonical version of the page. So in WordPress, we don't see this a lot because WordPress does this really well. But if you do like WooCommerce or e-commerce sites, you'll sometimes see a question mark and a bunch of gobbledygook and a couple equal signs in the URL. But it really is the same concept. It's the same content, but because you sort it, you have this information in what's called parameters in the URL. And it shows several different URLs, but it's really the same content. Maybe it's arranged a little different. Well, Google gets really frustrated with that, because you're really showing the same content, but the URLs are different. So the addresses are different. So you need canonical tags to say, okay, Google, we know that they're all a little different, but we want you to treat.
I don't understand.
Take a drink.
The mic's off.
Now we can talk about Google without it. Yeah. So that's what a canonical tag does. It says, hey, Google, we know that you can view this page different addresses, but we want you to view consider this one the actual official URL. So this is one of the reasons I like the Yoast SEO plugin. It does this automatically for you. You don't have to think about it. It's one of these SEO benefits that Yoast does that, like, everybody likes the green light, but I like these things like the canonical tags. It just does the right, you don't have to think about it.
This one site that I'm working on, they have a different SEO thing that I'm not familiar with. And I'm like,
Well, so you're talking about, though, picking the canonical version so you can put it to Google Analytics.
So, well, I think, so like, you know, my first question is like, and I think canonical add a few things onto it. So when I think of it, I'm thinking of like HTTP versus HTTPS.
That's one variation.
Okay. Yeah. So for the one that I was looking at, and I don't know, is there a way to check canonical for that? Because I was looking up and I found this tool that was, what did I say? Canonical URL location checker.
Yeah.
And so it told me that it had, I think it had the www in it. But when I look at Google Analytics, it just has HTTPS and not the www.
Right.
So that's where I don't know, is that an issue?
So yes. Okay. So the way there's check canonical is the difficult phrase that you just said. It's a little confusing.
Yeah.
So we want to check that there's only one way to view every particular URL. And so you kind of have to do this manually. So let's pick, for instance, the homepage of a website. In that case, because of Google Analytics, that's the one that really matters.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go in and we try to type every variation of the homepage URL we can think of, with or without www.
Yeah.
With or without HTTP or HTTPS. And we'll see what happens. Can you view the homepage with or without www?
Okay.
And you should it either should redirect, so you only see one. So if you type non-www, it automatically sends you to www, or vice versa. And in some ways, we don't care which one.
Okay. So yeah, what I put in without it, and www comes up.
Okay, so a redirect is happening.
Yes.
So that's helpful. Now I would do the same thing with S.
Yes.
In HTTP.
Okay.
HTTPS and HTTP.
Yeah, and then let me do this. Yes, so I did the without the S on the HTTPS, and it automatically brings up HTTPS and the www.
Okay, and then we can do all kinds of things. It's HTTPS with www, HTTPS without www, HTTP with, like, we should really check all the variations just to make sure. But so what we're finding is a redirect is in place to send people to one version of the homepage. In that case, it's HTTPS www.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So that is the canonical version. Now, as a side note, we want to make sure the redirects they're using is correct. We want to make sure they're using a 301 redirect. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But let's just assume that's right for now. So the canonical version of your homepage is HTTPS www.
Yes.
Now, when you set up Google Analytics, you need to make sure that you set up Google Analytics to include both HTTPS and www in this case. And you can go log into your Google Analytics account, go to admin at the bottom, the little gear box, go to your property and your view, and make sure those are properly set.
Okay, so let me double check, because I think I did that yesterday and I think it was different. So I have this account up. Come on, computer. And I'm going to click on admin. And then what did you say? The view
The property Info under properties is one place.
Property settings.
Try it. I'm
Yeah,
often not remembering
yes.
what it says.
Okay, so now it says default URL. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay, so this, it has HTTPS, but is missing the www.
Okay. I would just add triple W period.
Okay, so my question is that gonna like all the previous data, is it like, because this is someone else's account that they set up, am I gonna like cause any?
So
Problem?
here's how Google Analytics works.
Okay.
So Google Analytics executes and sends data to a database somewhere in Google. Once that data is sent, it can't be changed. So once you change it, it will be reporting accurately from that point forward, but
Okay,
it can't go back and fix the old data.
Okay,
or it sets
so-
the database.
okay, but so what you're saying is some of the data that I'm currently getting is probably not correct,
Now, I want to say it this way.
possibly.
I believe there is an implication that I'm kind of forgetting right now. Last time I took my Google Analytics certification, I was like, oh, that's why you need to do it. I totally am not remembering why.
Okay.
But
Why
at least
have
from
to
this
have
point, you will be doing your client a favor by giving them more accurate data.
Okay.
It's not going to break anything.
Okay,
It's
that's
only gonna help
my
them.
main thing. I don't want to break something.
Not
Well,
gonna break
I gave you access, you broke this.
No,
Okay.
it's only going to help them have more accurate. Now, I forget offhand the implications. I think it has to do with something like, I don't remember. I don't want to speculate. I will see if I can find it. But that I remember taking my certification last time going, oh, that's why. And so it's worth just double check. And, you know, sometimes we, like, for instance, in Reliable Acorn, my main site, I upgraded to Cloudflare a while back. Cloudflare makes you use triple W. I forgot to update my analytics. I still
Ooh.
got reporting, but that effect happened and it was like a little weird for a little bit. And I forget exactly what, but I would just go ahead and
Okay.
do it. You're not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
You're only going to improve the accuracy. Too bad you're not getting paid to take credit for the accuracy change, but you know, let's do our clients a service and just cross our T's, dot our I's, make sure this is set up right.
Okay, and I don't even know how this came up as a question for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
so-
not only in the property, but in the view section, you need to double check that it's set up there properly as well.
So, okay, in the property settings and in the view.
And don't forget to save it at the bottom. At the bottom, after you change it, it'll ask-
Now, here's something interesting. The view settings have www.
see, it does have HTTPS?
Yes, it has
Okay.
HTTPS and www, but
Right.
not in the property setting.
Okay,
It
so
was in the view settings.
rather than speculate on how much of a difference this really makes, I'm just of the opinion, let's just
Do it right.
now.
Okay.
Let's just get it together and assume that it makes some difference because it's such a small change. Like if it was a major coding error we had to fix, then I wouldn't be able to justify the effort. This is just simply a, hey, let's double check. Okay, we're
Okay.
rolling it out. So the next,
Now, question, so like, let's just, for example, say that this one didn't have the W's in it. And we're strolling along and then the client doesn't tell me and she changed to like, let's say Cloudflare, and all of a sudden she put wwws in the canonical. So that would mean that the reporting would then change because I would not have had that in before. Is that right?
so again, I don't remember the implications.
Okay.
And so it's not detrimental.
Yes.
It's not like the world will fall apart if you don't do this. It's just I forget what it is, but there's something weird that goes on
Okay.
that just kind of is worth just crossing your T's. As part of the process of Curious Ants, this is one of the reasons why every 6 months I recommend you go back and review your Google Analytics setup just to make sure everything's together.
Yeah.
And it's usually, this is kind of one of those, it can wait 6 months change.
Mhm.
It's not going to end the world, but it's probably worth just every 6 months just going in and making sure nothing weird happened.
Yeah.
And that's good. So the important part of checking the canonical tag of websites is the idea of making sure the redirects are set up properly. And so this is where I use a third-party tool called Redirect Detective. It just works well. You know, I don't get any money from this. Obviously, it's just a little tool someone built. But what I would do if I was going to do the canonical check correctly is to literally enter all variations. HTTPS without the triple W, HTTPS with the triple W, HTTP without, HTTP with, and see and make sure that the canonical one, whenever I enter the proper one, in this case, it's HTTPS with triple W, it returns a 200 header code. That says you've reached the destination and you're correct. That's what you want for the proper one. But you also, when you enter the wrong variation of the URL, you should always see a 301 redirect and not a 302 redirect, and ideally not a 307 redirect, but a 301. That is what will give you the maximum SEO benefit from those redirects. People will still be able to get to the right version, but the Google search engine, if it follows through a 302, won't pass all the authority. A 307, I forget, there's actually a video by John Mueller a couple weeks ago about 307 redirects, which is escaping me right now. But ideally it's a 301. So you should just go ahead and check,
Okay, so
make sure
301.
those are all 301s. And so there we go.
Okay.
So Lavanya,
Yes.
oh, so I literally have 8 minutes left, and I'm hoping to get to one of your questions.
Well, mine should be simple. It's just one
Okay.
question. It's just when I went into my Google console, it had a notification that I had, what did I send you? It had it was like reporting, I guess, my website 3 different times, like with a test and a default and in all website pages. So I deleted one of them. Can I delete the other one that's the backup, or I have to, or leave it?
So let me make sure I understand this right, because when we delete things out of Google Analytics, we can't go back very easily. So before we start deleting things, do you remember what I'm reading what you wrote here. What did exactly the report tell you?
But I copied and paste in there.
Okay, the redundant, this property has multiple views that are similarly configured and possibly redundant. Okay. The clutter of redundant website objects makes managing a Google Analytics account properly more difficult. Okay. So basically what you did is you created 3 views for each analytics property: the all website data, the backup, and the test.
Mhm.
And Google Analytics is telling you, hey, these are all the same. And so you're asking which one you should delete?
Well, I already deleted the test one, but after I deleted it, I was like, I might better ask before I delete the backup one.
Okay, so the simple answer is I recommend you do exactly what you just did. All website data, backup, and test. And the reason I do this is just to protect yourself in the future. Not that you're going to use backup or test very often. Google Analytics is warning you, you have 3, but they all report in the same. That's because you're not using any of them. You're only using the all website data, which is what you should be doing, right?
Right.
But you're following my advice, and Google Analytics is saying, hey, wait, these are all the same. Well, the answer to Google Analytics is, yes, we know they're all the same. The warning it's telling you is that it says, quote, the clutter of redundant objects make management of your Google Analytics account property more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We recommend removing redundant objects, blah, blah, blah. And so they're not saying something's wrong. They're just saying, hey, it might be hard to manage your Google Analytics account with 3 views of the same data.
Okay.
So what you have a choice here. Now, I'm not saying my advice is always perfect, and I'm not saying you can love me or love Google Analytics. That's not how I'm phrasing this debate. But Google Analytics is saying, hey, make your life easy and only have one view because they're all the same data. That's good advice. But I'm coming and saying, hey, thank you, that's good advice, but I'd like to keep all three of these in case later I decide I need to start using more advanced segmentation and data, and I'd like to have some clean data to work with.
Okay, so I can restore the test back.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it'll be fine.
yeah. You have like 30 days to restore something you delete.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and restore it now.
Yeah, yeah, and nothing's lost. That's still there, but basically Google's trying to help you, but in the future, you want to use those. So I would recommend just keeping them, knowing that you should probably only use the all website data one, but you might later wish you had the backup.
Okay.
And you might later wish you had an ability to test. Now you could always just delete, backup, and test. And then if you decide you want to do some more advanced analytics stuff by changing your segmentation, then you could create them at that point. But Google Analytics IQ exam actually does recommend you do what I'm recommending here.
Okay.
This is a case of Google Analytics saying you do it this way and Google Analytics saying you do it that way. And I would follow the exam's recommendation to create the three views, even if you don't use them and they all have the same data.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not, luckily it's not a danger, or things are going to explode warning. It's just trying to help you manage things.
Okay.
But it maybe by helping you manage things, it's made it more confusing, and maybe you don't need them right now and you come back later if you get into more advanced analytics and you do that.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great question. First time I've ever seen that notification.
Oh.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, I have a hard stop in like 3 minutes. These were some super questions. Can we finish the rest of your questions next week? But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. I'm glad we're all healthy. I hope everyone's feeling good emotionally and healthily next week. We're thinking about y'all.
Yeah. Thanks.
But
I just checked the update, and so I'm nervous, but cautiously optimistic.
okay, we're nervous but cautiously optimistic about the apocalypse, not committing to what that means, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, take care, everybody. Thank you for making office hours great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you
All right,
soon.
thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.